So, the high road today we're taking. Remember the old Scottish song? You take the high road and I take the little road and I'll be in Scotland before you. Well, you know, it really doesn't matter who gets there first, but for everything, for everywhere to get, there's a high way to get there and a low way to get there. High road and a low road, right? And that's for even our states of being. Like there's the highway to health, and there's the highway to abundance, and there's a highway to grace, and there's a low way to get there too. Now the low way feels to me like it's all the physical ways that we go. You know, the stuff that's all charted out and mapped out, and everybody does it, and it's history, and this is the way we do it here, and that's what our culture does, and because I said so, and all those things that very physical, and there it is. There's the way. Take it. And then there's a highway, a high road to everything. And to me, that's the state of intuition, of being able to just go the way, you know, don't follow the trail, go someplace new and blaze a new trail, to know for yourself how to get there, to take the way that feels right for you. It's the way of self-responsibility, and it's, you know, I was going to say there's nobody to help us or hinder us. In a way there is, because we're all one. But it's the road of knowing that we're creating ourselves. There's no manuals, there's no how-to books, instruction books, and nobody else's experience works for us. We have to have our own experience on the high road. Scary, right? The high road is the road of self-responsibility. Only ourselves. Now, again, I don't mean that we have to isolate ourselves, but we do need to take responsibility for the way we react with the other people on our road. It's the high road. So we can only be responsible for our own experience when we know the truth about ourselves. And that is the truth that we are creating moment by moment with our thoughts, our beliefs, and our intentions, what we will experience. Because that's the way the universe works. The universe is totally neutral, totally powerful. It's just waiting for our intention to unfold into what we invite it to unfold into. That's the truth that sets us free. So, I'd like to quote from James Allen. James Allen was a contemporary, one of the early thinkers, contemporary with Ernest Holmes, and he wrote a little book called As a Man Thinketh. It's a great little book. And he says, "The body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operations of the mind, whether they be deliberately chosen or automatically expressed." So our bodies are expressing what our minds think. And I don't just mean our physical bodies, I mean the body of our affairs, the circumstances we find ourselves in, our jobs, our finances, our relationships. They're all reflecting, and they're all servants of our minds. And he goes on, "Disease and health, like circumstances, are rooted in thought. Sickly thoughts will express themselves through a sickly body. Thoughts of fear have been known to kill a man as speedily as a bullet, and they are continually killing thousands of people just as surely, though less rapidly. The people who live in fear of disease are the people who get it. Anxiety quickly demoralizes the whole body and lays it open to the creature of disease." You know, that's where I just go blithely through life ignoring. And it drives me crazy when the TV goes on and the government in Canada is spending my hard-earned money telling me that I shouldn't hug people or shake their hands because they're, no, don't go there, please. And sickly thoughts create sickly bodies. Our belief in disease, sure there's reality, sure there's microbes out there or whatever they are, but our belief in them attracts them to us. Scary, right? Simple? So the high road is the road of realization. Realization is a fabulous word. Definitions. To realize is to obtain or bring in. As a prophet, he realized a great prophet. Second definition is to comprehend completely or accurately. And the third definition is to realize. To make real. When we realize something, we actually make it real in our experience. So when we comprehend completely and accurately, which is what a practitioner does in spiritual mind treatment. We make it real. So the practitioner looks beyond and realizes the truth of who we are in our being, in our core. I'd like to read you a rather long quote from Ernest Holmes, his definition of realization. We should turn to that living presence within, which is the Father in heaven. Recognize it as the one and only power in the universe, unify with it, declare our word to be the presence, power, and activity of that one, and speak the word as if we believed it. Got that, everybody? Because the law is the servant of the Spirit. If we could stand aside and let the one perfect life flow through us, we could not help but healing people. If we stand aside and let the one perfect life flow through us, we could not help but heal people. We could not help having a perfect realization of perfection. The word realization at any time means an impression of reality on the mind, a clear apprehension, an acceptance by the mind that a thought or condition is actual. In the textbook, when we speak of a perfect realization, we are referring to a realization of our oneness with good. There is a point in the supreme moment of realization where the individual merges with the universe, but not to the loss of his individuality. Where a sense of the oneness of all life so enters his being that there is no sense of otherness. It is here that the mentality performs seeming miracles, because there is nothing to hinder the whole from coming through. As immense and limitless as life is, the whole of it is brought to the point of our consciousness. We comprehend the infinite only to the degree that it expresses itself through us, becoming to us that which we believe it to be. Right here in our own nature is the path that gradually leads to realization. The path, the high road. Right here. The whole of it is right here. Infinite power right here. And the high road, of course, is the road of creation. When we realize our oneness with all of life, when the individual merges with the universal, where everything is possible, then all we need to do in order to create is to choose. Just choose. So the high road is the road of responsibility, realization, and creation. And the low road is the way we always do it, the way it's usually done, the way it's always been done. And the low road can be tough because it's a physical road, and we have a physicality to deal with. There's all those physical things that might get in our way. And maybe the lack of physical thing gets in our way. And time gets in our way. There's all that stuff to deal with. But on the high road, we transcend physicality. It's metaphysical, beyond physical. There is, however, one thing we might have to deal with, and that is our belief. Specifically, our belief in separation. See, we think we're separate from each other. We think we're apart. We think that the infinite power is out there, that God is on his throne in heaven or whatever it is. And we believe in being separate, and that blocks the path on our high road. But the high road transcends all of that stuff. Because we think God and I are two different things. We think you and I are two different things. We think seeing and believing are two different things. We think health and disease are two different things. We think abundance and lack are two different things. A building has an east wall and a west wall. They're two different parts of the building, but they're not separate, they're all wall. I have a right hand and a left hand, but I'm incomplete with all of it, without all of them, without both of them. And so everything that we think are opposites are actually different parts of the same thing. See, this is disease and this is health. You know, this is lack and this is limitation. They're intertwined. They're part of the same thing. So within the very thing we think is disease is the natural health of who we are. Within the very thing that we call limitation or lack is the abundance that's natural. It's natural. So if I'm not experiencing health or if I'm not experiencing abundance, It's still there. I've just covered it up with my belief in the opposite, as something separate from it. So right now, within the circumstances that we're experiencing, is the perfection. And again, that's what a practitioner does when we do a spiritual mind treatment. Is zing right through all that stuff, all that stuff that feels so real to us, and gets to the truth of it. It's akin to the yoga exercise of just breathing. Anybody here wake up kind of stiff and sore in the morning? I'll tell you what I do. I wake up and I sit up straight in my bed with my legs straight out in front of me, and I lean forward and try and touch my toes. And when I start out, I go about like this. And then, it's all tight down here. So I breathe. I breathe. Take a deep, deep breath with me. See what it does to your body? And hold it. Now let it go. See what happens to your body? If you use that, so I breathe deeply in, and I start out here, and I deep briefly in, and when I let it out, and I breathe deeply again, and I go, and I breathe deeply again, and I go. Takes about 10 minutes, and I realize that my knees are poking into my eyeballs. And sometimes as I'm going down, I feel the stretch, I feel it here first. And so what I do is I direct my breathing into that space. Now I know I can only breathe into my lungs, but in my mind I visualize it going to that muscle. I'm releasing it. And then that tightness moves down to here, and I breathe into that. And then it moves down to here, and I breathe into that. And then I realize it's not my eyes on my knees, it's my nose sticking down between my knees. And then I feel the stretch in the back of my legs. So I breathe into that for a few times, and I realize my chin's on my knees. And then I feel the stretch down there.
Yeah.
How many old broads like me do you know who do that? And the thing is that we can apply that to everything in our lives. Whether it's our physical bodies, whether it's our mental angst, whatever is going on in our lives, we can breathe into it and release it, and it lets go. It's our hanging on to things that keeps them in place. You've heard that, right? Resistance causes persistence. So we don't fight pain. We flow with it. We breathe into it. We surrender to it. What's the first thing you do when you hurt yourself? Tighten up and you fight it, right? Pretend it's not there, you go take some kind of a pill. But if we just allow it to be. And even if you have a headache, whatever it is, the pain is, there's a wonderful exercise that I saw in a workshop one time, a woman dealing with a headache, and the facilitator had her come up and just ask her to examine the headache. Where is it? What color is it? What shape is it? How big is it? If it could hold water, how much water would it hold? Now where is it? Now what color is it? And she just kept looking at her headache and answering those questions until finally she had to say, I can't find it anymore. But we don't. We resist our pains, don't we? Take a look at them. Just observe without judgment and see what they are. So James Allen, again, back to As a Man Thinketh, he says, a change of diet will not help a man who will not change his thoughts. When a man makes his thoughts pure, he no longer desires impure food. Ding, 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 ding. And he who has strengthened and purified his thoughts does not need to consider the malevolent microbe. And so when I have this terrible strain to stop eating sugar, just know myself is pure, then I know I no longer crave the sugar. Because sugar, like any addiction, is a belief that we need something outside ourselves, right? So what's the high way to health and what's the low way to health? Well, when it comes to health, I think the crisis management system that we now have in place for our health is the low way. Now, I'm not saying when we've got a physical crisis going on, we don't need to use that crisis management. But there's a better way to do that, and that's being responsible for our own health instead of assigning it out to the medical profession. It's being responsible for our diet and our exercise and keeping ourselves clean and all that good stuff. And it's also knowing that our expectations tend to come to us. We know that we need to be responsible and we need to think positive health. So if we go to our doctor and the doctor says you have diabetes and sugar is going to make you sick, you stop eating sugar, right? And you go to the doctor and he says smoking is going to make you sick. To the best you can, you stop smoking, right? But now I'm not a medical doctor, but I stand up here and I tell you on good authority that thinking negative thoughts is going to make you sick and going to make you negative circumstances in your life, and you know that's true because you've heard it so many times. But the thing is, we keep on doing it, don't we? We keep on thinking negative thoughts. How do we stop? Well, we stop it the same way as we stop the sugar and we stop the cigarettes, one day at a time. Moment by moment by moment, making more positive choices. Each moment of now. I choose to stop thinking negative thoughts. And we choose to stop making ourselves wrong when we think negative thoughts too. Because if there's anything that's more negative than a negative thought, it's negative thoughts about negative thoughts. So yeah, we've got to stop doing that to ourselves. So yeah, we have a little slip. Okay, just same as with the pain. We observe it. We observe it, and we move on. So the next step to the high road is realization. It's seeing the truth behind, underneath, and within all the circumstances. That's seeing that, and again, the whole crux of our teaching is that there is only God, only good. That's all there is. In the beginning, there wasn't anything else. So whatever it is that created all of this had to have created it out of itself. And therefore, we must be all of it. So therefore, all is God, all is good. And so therefore, this too is good, even if our judgment says, I don't like it. Right? So that's the secret, is stop resisting that, saying this too is good. And our treatment, our affirmative prayer is to lead our minds to an acceptance of that this is already perfect. And that's when miracles can happen. And being on the highway means that you're conscious, you're creating at every moment. And we are always creating, or every thought is creative. Again, as James Allen said, whether we know it or not. But when we're consciously creative, then we tend to get a lot more of what we think we want, right? Being conscious that we're creating. So, finding health isn't about resisting disease. It isn't about protecting ourselves and hiding ourselves. The highway to health is about consciously creating health out of the everything nothingness, out of the pure potential that surrounds us all the time. It's about constantly choosing health. First of all, we might need to dissolve the idea of disease back into the nothingness from which it came. Because it's just an idea. Everything is an idea. Everything started as an idea, right? And then the universe responded to that idea and created as reality. So if we can dissolve it back into the idea, we can change our idea and therefore change our reality. So it all sounds way too simple, doesn't it? I mean, how could anything this simple really work? Change your thinking, change your life, right? Way too simple. And it's really hard to explain sometimes to our friends who are very mainstream Christian or who are very scientific and don't want to look at anything woo-woo at all. It's really simple. You just think it into reality. Sure. Well, there's a highway and a high road and a low road to sharing this teaching too. The low road is, I want everybody to think I didn't get sucked into something weird here, that I'm credible and intelligent and I have common sense. And I want everybody to think this is really true, and I want everybody to understand immediately what I'm telling, and I'm attached. The high road to sharing this truth is that it's such a gift. It is such a gift that we need to offer it absolutely freely, without attachment to anybody who might be interested, and be willing to look like an absolute flake. That's the high road. I had a miraculous healing a few years ago. I had ruptured a disc in my neck and I lost the use of my right arm, which was a little scary. So I took, the low road. I used the crisis management for sure. I had a fabulous neurosurgeon. But when I went in for surgery, my husband and I were just about to open a restaurant, 10 days temps, and it all had to be cleaned and the whole thing. I said to the surgeon, how long will I be in hospital? He said, if you're good, 5 to 7 days. He did the surgery on Tuesday afternoon, and I went home on Thursday morning. By Saturday, I was on my hands and knees cleaning under the deep fryers. And I don't say this to brag, but I was thinking positive thoughts. I was expecting. There were people doing treatment for me. And yes, and the doctors were dumbfounded and flabbergasted, and I really didn't even try to explain to him what it was I'd done, because he would never have gone. But I knew that would be true, and I've seen this so many times. Not only that we don't get sick as much as we used to, we still do, but have you noticed how fast we heal, how fast we bounce back, how fast we recover? Because we've empowered ourselves to create a reality. But sometimes when I try and explain that to my kids and my friends, they think I'm just babbling away, right? And so we create a state of health simply by saying so. And again, it's backwards to the way we usually think. What we usually think is when I get all the little things that are wrong with my body fixed up, then I will have perfect health. The opposite is true. When you, in your consciousness, can embrace and know your perfect health, all those little things that are wrong with your body will automatically fix themselves up. That's hard. That's hard because our society is trying to convince us the total opposite of that, right? But that's the highway to everything we want in our life. We attain an understanding of the truth of who we are first, and then all the physical stuff falls into place. So again, the entirety of what we teach is summed up by a little affirmation. There is one life, that life is God's life, that life is my life. There is only one life, and that life is perfect. There's only God and nothing else. And again, if you don't like the word God, use something else. There's only one life force. There's only one beingness. There's only one. Everything is created out of the one, and therefore I am that one. Therefore I am health. Because how can God be anything but health? Therefore I am abundance. How can God be anything but abundance? All the good things, beauty, joy, all of it. We can't be anything else. And if we're not experiencing it, it's simply because we've temporarily covered it up with the peanut butter of our beliefs. False beliefs. Just smear that all over. I watch TV programs. I don't watch a lot of TV programs because I can't buy violence and stupidity, and there's not much else. But anyway, if I do watch a TV program, there's a movie, for instance, it creates a mood in you, doesn't it? It creates a tension or whatever it is, and you feel those emotions in your body, and they become very real. But then after you turn the TV set off, you say to yourself, oh, okay, that wasn't real. That wasn't real, so now I let go of that. And it's the same with the physical reactions I've created in my body with my fear or my expectation. So, oh, I had a headache because I got mad at somebody, because whatever it is. And then I need to say to myself, oh, that wasn't real. The truth is, I am perfect, divine, worthy, beloved child of God. When we say child of God, we need to add adult in there. I'm an adult child of God. Because we don't know how to use this as an excuse. So the false beliefs give rise to stuff in my body. When I release the false belief, the stuff is also gone. So I take the highway to health. So that is an affirmation. Say it with me. I take the highway to health. I claim health. I claim health as my natural state. As my natural state. As my birthright. As my birthright. As a child of the One. As a child of the One. Who has created everything, including me, in its image and likeness. Out of itself. Out of itself. And so it is. And so it is. Fantastic. No, we're going to sing a song now.